Okay, assalamu alaikum. In this class, I'll be discussing question number 7 of paper 4, relevant to guest paper of A2 Economics for June 2024 exam series. So this guest paper is for June 2024 exam series. And before moving to the guest paper, you must read this disclaimer as well. Okay, so now these are the questions you can see on the screen right now. I have solved some of them already and they are available on the channel, and in this class I'll be explaining you question number 7, right? So the behavior of perfectly competitive firms is more favorable to the consumers and producers, right? So I can remove this part, producers part. Then like for consumers, then oligopoly and monopoly firms. So I'm removing this part as well, for example oligopoly as well, then monopoly firms. So now you can read this question as the behavior of perfectly competitive firms is more favorable for the consumers than the monopoly firm. Evaluate this statement, right? So examiner will not use all of these terms that I have written. I have written some extra things to just cover up as many like aspects as there are possible, because examiner may ask you to compare perfect competition with oligopoly or with monopoly. Sometimes examiner also asks you to compare like perfectly monopolistically competitive firms with that of monopoly, right? So if you understand this question, then definitely whatever variation examiner brings into the question, you will be able to understand that, inshallah. Okay, so how to answer this question? As I told you many times that you have to accomplish three assessment objectives: assessment objective 1, assessment objective 2, assessment objective 3. So these are 3 assessment objectives that you have to complete in this answer. And assessment objective 1 is knowledge, assessment objective 2 is analysis, and assessment objective 3 is evaluation. Knowledge plus analysis both collectively carry 14 marks, 1 for 14 marks, and assessment objective 3 carries 6 marks. So this is how 20 marks are covered in this question. So for assessment objective 1, what you have to do is you have to identify the key terms that are given in this statement of question and explain those terms. That will be the part of knowledge. So first of all, we have like perfectly competitive firm. This is assessment objective 1, knowledge part. And then we have another economic term, that is monopoly. This is another like knowledge part, assessment objective 1. So you will have to explain the basic features of perfectly competitive market and the basic features of monopoly market structure for this assessment objective 1. So perfectly competitive perfectly competitive markets are the kinds of markets in which there are a large number of like buyers and sellers in the industry. Number of firms are huge, but they are small in size, and there can be sometimes millions of sellers as well. And there is freedom of entry of new firms into the industry, and there is also freedom of exit of the existing firms from the industry. So examples can be like agriculture market or stock exchange market. These are the 2 best examples to explain the idea of perfectly competitive market. Another feature of perfect competition is that prices in the market are set through the free forces of demand and supply, and they remain the same throughout the market. So you have to make its graph as well. So you will make 2 connecting graphs like this. So this is a demand curve in the industry, and this is supply curve in the industry. So this is origin point. On X we have quantity, and on Y we have price, and we also have revenue and cost as well. So this is supply this is demand, so equilibrium takes place at E, where equilibrium quantity is Q and equilibrium price is set at P. So whatever price is set by the industry, so this is graph of industry, and this is the graph of firm, and again we have quantity on X, and we have three variables: price, revenue and cost on y-axis. So whatever price industry sets, that is basically P, all firms will follow the same price. So the firm will charge the same price P, due to which average revenue is also equal to the marginal revenue, and this is also equal to the demand curve. So this is another feature of perfectly competitive market. Okay, prices are set through the free forces of demand and supply, and they remain the same throughout the industry, and all firms charge the same price. Another important thing is that these firms are economically efficient because they produce at the lowest possible average cost curve, and they charge less price, and they produce sufficient quantity to satisfy the needs and wants of the consumers. They are never involved in overcharging or underproduction, so they are economically efficient. Okay. Another feature that you can mention in perfectly competitive market is firms are price takers. Price takers mean these firms cannot charge their own price, rather they charge the price that is set by the industry. And now you have to move to the basic features of monopoly. And monopoly is a kind of market structure that contains only single seller in the industry, and there are so many buyers in the industry, and firm itself is an industry, so there are no chances of new entry into the industry, and again there are strong barriers to exit the industry as well, right? So entry is difficult because existing monopoly firm uses the tactics that are definitely harmful to the new sellers, so new producers and sellers don't enter the industry. And existing monopoly is also unable to leave the industry because of high sunk cost. If it leaves the industry, then it will have to lose a lot of costs that it paid basically to set up the business. And another feature of monopoly is that there is price discrimination in the industry. Price discrimination is charging different prices due to the different customers, and price discrimination may occur due to person. Due to person is when monopoly seller charges different prices to the different customers based on their financial outlook, and it can be due to place. Due to places, it may sell its product at different prices in the different markets, and it can be different or discriminated due to use as well, right? For example, in Pakistan, WAPDA is the electricity seller. WAPDA is the electricity seller in Pakistan, and it is only one seller. No other firm is allowed to sell electricity in Pakistan, so it has monopoly. So monopoly firm WAPDA charges different prices for different users of electricity. For example, if you make the domestic use of the electricity, then charges are different. If you want to use electricity for industrial purpose, then the charges are different. So this is again another important feature of monopoly, and monopoly is involved in underproduction and overcharging. Underproduction because it wants to underproduction and overcharging. It underproduces so that it can overcharge the customers, so they artificially create barriers to the new entry as well, and they create artificial shortages in the market as well. And these firms are economically inefficient, right? So monopoly firms are economically inefficient. However, monopoly firm can achieve dynamic efficiency in the long run by using better technology and undergoing research and research and development. So by investing in new technology, it can become efficient as well, dynamically efficient. And so these are the basic features of monopoly and perfect competition that are sufficient to get you 7 marks, right? And now you have to analyze the situation. When you have to analyze the situation, then you have to answer the question that was asked. This is the just background knowledge assessment objective 1, and now you have to answer the question. What was the question? Question was that perfectly competitive firms are better for the consumers than monopoly firms, right? So now you will try to justify why perfect competition. In analysis part, why you will justify why perfectly competitive firms or competitive market is efficient or better than monopoly. So how does it basically benefit the consumers? The benefits include there are a lot of sellers in the industry, so there is greater competition in the market. When there is greater competition in the market, firms make sure they produce better quality goods, so consumers get better quality products, so they benefit from this perfectly competitive market. While monopoly firm being single firm in the industry, there is no competitor, so it may compromise on quality as well, and its response may be very slow to the customers, so consumers may suffer when they are facing monopoly. In perfectly competitive market, there are no chances of like overcharging, no chances of charging high price, overcharging and underproducing goods and services. But in monopoly firm practices like monopoly power and charges high price. In perfect competition, there was no chance of charging high price and underproducing goods. But yes, in monopoly there are the practices of charging high price and producing less output. Perfectly competitive markets are economically efficient because they produce at a point where marginal cost is equal to the price. So you can make this graph as well. So the in perfectly competitive market, price remains the same. So when price remains the same, price will be equal to average revenue and equal to marginal revenue. So this is ARN, MR. MR stand for marginal revenue. And on y-axis we have 3 variables: price, revenue and cost. And equilibrium takes place at a point where marginal cost cuts marginal revenue from below at point E. So output produced is Q. And in perfectly competitive market, in the long run, all firms earn normal profit, and when there is normal profit, long run average cost curve will be tangent to the average revenue curve at point E, where average cost is also equal to the price. So when average cost is equal to price, it shows or it may be equal to average revenue, because average revenue is always equal to price. So in perfectly competitive market, firms are economically productively efficient, right? So when they are productively efficient, they produce the product at low prices and they produce greater quantity, so they are better for the consumers. On the other hand, like monopoly firms are economically or productively inefficient because they are involved in underproduction and they are involved in overcharging. So you can make the graph. Origin point, on X we have quantity, this is average revenue which is equal to demand, and this is marginal revenue. On Y we have 3 variables: price, revenue and cost, and this is marginal cost curve. And in in this market structure, allocative efficiency is possible at point E where marginal cost is equal to average revenue, so output produced is Q and price is P, right? But monopoly firm never produces at that point, rather its equilibrium takes place where MC is equal to MR, so output produced is Q1 and price charge will be P1. So monopoly firm is involved in overcharging because it charges high price, and underproduction because it produces lesser output, and it causes deadweight loss equal to this triangular area. So this triangular area is deadweight loss. So when monopoly firms practice high charging and underproduction, they are not beneficial to the consumers. So perfectly competitive firms are like beneficial to the consumers and monopoly firms are not. So this was the analysis point where you were trying to justify the statement of question that perfectly competitive market is better than the monopoly for consumers. But now you have to write down evaluation. In evaluation, what we do is we basically write down the limitations of the analysis. Whatever we said in analysis part, now you will negate that, right? You will write against those points that you wrote for analysis. Now you will try to justify that monopoly may be better than perfect competition. Monopoly may be better than perfect competition for consumers. Okay, so why it happens? Keep in mind, monopoly firms, as I told you, can achieve dynamic efficiency in the long run, and dynamic efficiency in the long run because monopoly firm has sufficient resources to undertake research and development and use better technology that can reduce average cost of production. So the average cost curve shifts downward, so we have quantity on x and we have cost on y axis. So average cost curve in the long run is initially AC and subsequently it decreases to AC1 because of dynamic efficiency or improvement in technology. So when average cost decreases or lowers from AC to AC1 in the long run, it will benefit the consumers as well. Monopoly firms also achieve like economies of scale because firm is very large in size, so it can achieve economies of scale as well. Economies of scale is when you produce more, average cost of production falls. So fall in average cost of production means monopoly firm is in the position to sell the product at a lower price as well, so when it charges low price, it may be beneficial to the consumers. And secondly, monopoly firm being monopoly needs not to waste the resources on advertisement to attract customers because everyone knows about the monopoly firm. So instead of using resources on advertisement to attract customers, they use those resources to produce greater output of goods and services. So again, monopoly firm seems to be better than perfectly competitive firm for the consumers. And in perfectly competitive market, firms are very small in size, so they are unable to achieve economies of scale and they keep advertising their products to attract customers. So that because there are a lot of sellers selling homogeneous products, so capturing customers is really tough for them. Okay, so this will be the evaluation part, and analysis part contains 7 marks, knowledge part contains 7 marks, and evaluation part contains like 6 marks. And evaluation ends with a conclusion, and conclusion is basically the final judgment that you can give for your answer or discussion that you undertook during answering this question. So you can say, in conclusion, perfectly competitive market on average are better than the monopoly firms for the consumers, because they are economically efficient and they don't charge high prices, and they are not involved in underproduction as well. While monopoly firms in most of the time exploit consumers by charging high prices, extracting consumer surplus and converting into the producer surplus, and in most of the cases they are not that much efficient because they don't have any kind of competition in the market, so they think they need not to be allocatively or productively efficient, although they have the chance to undertake research and development and use better technology to achieve dynamic efficiency in the long run, but they almost never do that. So this is the conclusion and this is the end of this answer, and I believe you got the idea how to answer this question, and a similar type of answer will be there if examiner asks about the comparison of oligopoly and perfect competition, or the comparison of monopolistic competition and monopoly. So you will have to give basic features of the market structures that are mentioned in the question. Then you can try to analyze why one market structure can be beneficial for the consumers and why the other is not beneficial, and as an evaluation you have to look at the flip side of the analysis, like you will say that whatever you said in analysis has limitations and situation can be quite opposite as well, and then you have to give like complete like evaluation and then conclude it. So this is how you can answer this question. So in the next video I'll explain you another question of the guest paper. So see you soon, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.